Welcome to the Monarchist Minute. I'm your host, William Stout, here with Clements Magnolia. How are you tonight, Clements?
I'm alright, yourself?
I can't complain. Weather is unusually warm for January, so that's rather lovely. Although you then have the wonderful fact that when all the snow melts away, the ice is left because it melts slower, and it turns the world into a skating rink.
Yeah, sounds like
So, you and I recently got back from our trip to DC. What was your thoughts on the whole trip to DC?
I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. Uh, I don't know exactly what you want me to talk about specifically in this. Also, hi, George. It's very nice to have you on again.
Hello.
It's
Uh, can you hear Clements well? I could not really hear him at all.
Yeah, try move closer to your mic, Clements.
I'm
That's better.
well.
What are we talking about?
Oh, we were just doing a recap of our March for Life trip, the trip to DC.
Okay.
Yeah, so Clements, I, and Leslie Knight, who unfortunately cannot join us this evening, all went down to DC for the March for Life. We attended the march, which we would have had a more visible presence if it weren't for some last minute changes to security restrictions. Thanks, JD Vance.
The worst part was that we got there. We realized, wait a minute, we just didn't have to walk through the main field. Just stand outside of it. We could have had everything.
Yeah, that was the fun part. We couldn't even get through security, so it wouldn't have even mattered anyway, just because of how long the line was.
Yeah.
But oh, and of course, then we decided to try and be smart and wait in the back, but we still ended up in the back of the line anyway, so that didn't work out as planned. I don't know. The march was a flop this year, but the gala was something else.
I love the gala. Was great, honestly. Very nice.
The food was pretty good too. They had short rib and chicken, and it was this really nice garlic herb chicken that had like that weird butter sauce. You know what I'm talking about, George's?
Yeah.
It was really, really good. But I think the dessert was probably the highlight of it.
Absolutely delicious. Lovely chocolate cake with raspberries. Oh, so
Ooh, that sounds nice.
I wish we would have had more fruit, though. I really do. It's a shame we couldn't make it, George. I was actually saying.
I was feeling off it that week. I was sick.
Yeah, I heard you had a nasty bug. I was actually kind of looking forward to getting to meet you in person.
I wasn't sure if it's a stomach bug or like a migraine that lasted way too long because I woke up, vomited, and then just like laid down for the rest of the day and got. You know when you're sick and you blink and like everything's just off it and you. I did the thing when I'm feverish, which is look into weird ideologies while feeling feverish. That's how I learned what like Strasserism was I was feverish. I was like, what is a banana republic in Strasserism? And that.
You see, I would say my flu cure has always been docudramas and Cheez-Its. Just because the salty, dry cracker is just really appealing when you're sick. It says docudramas are typically really long. It's just a great way to waste time.
Oh, docudramas or just like old style documentaries? Because there was one that I like. It's not even just a sick documentary now. It's just a whenever I feel like falling asleep to a documentary. It's like a Nietzsche one.
Both. I also a while back when I was sick and I was staying at my grandmother's, there was this interesting documentary. Like I missed like the old daytime television documentaries because they always had the best documentaries on during daytime television.
Yeah, like it'd be about some obscure subject, but it'd be like weirdly in depth, but also dramatized just enough to keep you like entertained.
Like there was this one, I remember it vividly. It was about apocalypse survival, and it was this guy running around this abandoned town or like this setting that was supposed to show an abandoned town, and
Is that
going
the one where
over.
they get wiped out by a disease?
I don't remember, but it was basically he was going around and he was showing all these random facts. Like he taught us how to siphon gas out of the tanks at a gas pump, or how to turn cooking oil into biodiesel using household chemicals. And he also taught me the interesting fact that in a pinch you can eat pet food because in case of emergency disasters, all pet foods required to be made to be up to human edibility standards.
I think that was like, wasn't that due to the Great Depression? I think that caused the
I
raising
was always
quality.
heard it was from that documentary and since on. I've always heard it's because of disasters.
Both make sense.
But
Did you ever watch After Armageddon?
I don't know if I did or not.
I remember watching that one as a kid, and there's a part where they eat like they see a dog that was roasted over a spit, and I was like, oh, okay. And they cut to just some sociologist saying, yeah, most people will eat other people's pets, but not their own pet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, very weird thing to watch. I think I was like 10 when I first watched it. I was way too young to be seeing that.
I remember one time History Channel came out with, I think it was I can't remember if it was a 3-part or a 7-part documentary where they dramatized the end of days, like the events of the Book of Revelations.
I think History Channel did that. I remember seeing that.
And I know it wasn't entirely theologically accurate, but it was still pretty good. It suffered from that god-awful American centrism.
Revelation, the end of days. That's what it's called.
Yeah. They even what's the word I'm looking for? They even snubbed Megiddo for being the site of the final battle in the exchange of having it in not St. Louis, but New Orleans. Like why?
I'm brain rotted. I thought of the Star Wars planet. And
Is there a Star Wars planet named Megiddo?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Or
no,
is that
Megiddo.
Iago?
No, Megiddo is where Ki-Adi-Mundi is shot and killed.
I didn't realize that planet was named Megiddo. Interesting.
I've been re-upping on a lot of Star Wars lore recently.
Oh, another favorite of mine to watch while I'm sick. Lord of the Rings.
I've never seen it, nor read it.
You're kidding, right?
Nah, that's just not in my cultural purview.
Clements, you hearing this? This man that's read about Posadism and all these weird, wacky, schizophrenic ideologies has never once picked up Tolkien.
I have it in Esperanto.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is. Thank you.
I just can't believe it that you of all people wouldn't read Tolkien.
Well, it's not wouldn't. It's just like I never sat down and read it. It never really caught my eye. It wasn't really something that I was like, I don't know. Fantasies never appealed to me that same way.
I mean, I read the Silmarillion. I still have to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, but I at least have seen the movies. But
I think
you've never even seen the movies?
I think I've seen snippets of it.
This is a crime that needs to be answered.
Like, I've seen snippets of it, and I've also seen snippets of like the one that was done by Rankin Bass. I think that was that The Hobbit, or was that Lord of the Rings? The Rankin Bass animated one.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about the animated one.
Oh no, it was The Hobbit. I've seen clips of The Hobbit. It's the one that they reference in Smiling Friends with the guy with the pipe bomb. Very fascinating.
Next thing you're gonna tell me is you don't think about Rome.
I think about Rome, but only like the Roman monarchy and the Ravenna period. The rest of it I kind of ignore, except Claudius. He's a nice footnote.
Claudius, I honestly feel bad for Claudius because he was kind of just sandwiched between awful and worse. It's not really his fault.
Yeah, but he was like okay.
Built a pretty nice aqueduct.
Had a good British daytime television drama made about him.
That was I Claudius, right?
Yeah, that one's good. I rewatched like an episode of it recently, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. This thing's kind of a banger. I love Brian Blessed. He's a really good Augustus.
That reminds me, I need to watch March of Eagles or whatever that docudrama is about the German Empire.
Oh, March of Eagles is good. I love Otto von Bismarck threatening suicide at the drop of a hat. He really was like an e-girl before his time.
I just heard an amazing quote that comes to mind in this particular topic. He who says men are dramatic have never read history.
Yeah. Men are queens, just like Julius Caesar.
Yes, yeah. I actually found recently a content maker who makes, and I quote, realistic depictions of historical figures or people. And he went on this whole, he made this whole entire comedy sketch about how Roman senators actually were.
We always portray them as British when they should be portrayed by the same people who, are in mafia movies.
Yes, but somehow less competent.
You see, the mafia, much like the Catholic Church, are the true successors of Rome.
I 110% believe that. It makes perfect sense. Down to the coups, power struggles, and monarchy and everything but name.
You see, the priesthood are the patricians, and the mafia are the plebeians.
That tracks. And that also goes with the saying, the word senator translates to old man, not wise man. Anywho, do we have any other comments about the March for Life or the DC trip before we move on to a different subject, or?
I met Matt Walsh. That
Oh yeah, we did get to meet Matt Walsh, and we did get to shake
barely.
his hand.
Yeah, we got to shake his hand, and I got a photo with him, and that was basically about it.
Still counts.
Handshake and move on.
Yeah, literally, because he was going over somewhere else, and we were like, I looked over and I'm like, is that Matt Walsh? I'm like, no, it can't be. And he walks past us. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Matt.
That was definitely
Walsh,
an interesting moment. And I'm not a fan of the Daily Wire at all, but that was still an interesting thing to see. It's not every day you run into such a big face in political commentary.
You get to meet one of the talking heads.
Yeah. It's a shame we did. What's the other dude's name? The one that's like closeted monarchist? I can't remember his name. He's also from the Daily Wire.
Michael Knowles.
Yeah, it's a shame we couldn't meet Michael Knowles. I feel like he would have been so happy to get one of our brochures.
I feel like he would have. We need to find him at some point. We need to find
Next year when we go to DC, the goal, find Michael Knowles.
You should write him a letter beforehand, a nice handwritten letter with nice calligraphy.
That's
yeah,
good.
my handwriting is terrible. It has to be somebody else.
Yeah, no, we hire someone, a professional calligrapher, to write a neat little letter.
Are there even still professional calligraphers out there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're kidding.
Like you can also still go get go to a monastery.
Ah, we lost them.
Oh,
Come back.
Discord crash there. Sorry about that. But
You were saying.
you can like go to a monastery and still commission what's the thing? It's not paper, but it's made out of animal hide.
Parchment?
No, not parchment. It has its own name, like cellulum or something like that.
Oh no, I've always called it parchment.
Old paper animal hide. What is it called? Oh, I guess it is called parchment as well. Huh. Vellum is what I was specifically thinking of. You can still go commission a custom vellum book or something from a monastery nowadays. None of the amenities and artisans of the Middle Ages really disappeared. They just became some of them died out, but a chunk of them are still just around.
I wonder how much that would cost.
I know the monastery stuff's really expensive, like a couple grand. And calligraphers, I think it depends on their commission rate. You can find a cheap one, you can find
I
expensive
would
ones.
just imagine the sorts of ridiculous content I could have made into this old-fashioned looking codex style book. Just have this book made and you open it up and it's an entire recorded summary of every Muppets episode ever made. Just something absolutely off the wall and ridiculous.
You'd have to pay also a what's it called? Illustrator to do medieval illustrations of each episode.
Oh no! Here's the idea. 50 Shades of Grey, fully illustrated in one of these old-fashioned books, and then you bury it in an old chest just to mess with some archaeologist 3,000 years down the road.
That's why I want a tomb, right? So when I'm dead and buried, and I'm mummified, some archaeologist after the hill that I'm buried in the side of is found, they'll be oh, this must be some ancient burial rite, and then they see a Wellum version of I don't know, the Sharp novels, and I have my autobiography carved in the wall.
The true goal in life isn't to be remembered forever, but to absolutely positively troll the archaeologists 3,000 years in the future.
Yeah, you gotta leave yourself some interesting grave goods, so when they find you, they wonder what rituals were partook in your burial. That's why I want to be mummified.
What would be an interesting grave good?
What you'd want is to mix antiquated with modern, so having a nice leather but kind of still crudish leather pouch for a phone wrapped up and put onto you. Are you talking about having a proper tomb or just being buried somewhere and they find you?
No, let's go all out. Proper tomb.
You want to just leave a bunch of different grave goods, computer, but then animal skins, and then gold, and then you want to paint that society has regressed, but they don't have a record of that regression, but they might, because again, a tomb might not be found for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years. We're still finding Iron Age burial grounds throughout the United States and Europe.
Right.
So you want to bet on them not remembering history. I
wonder if I could amass enough manga that they think it's some kind of legendarium. That actually sounds glorious.
Having a bunch of manga and anime statuettes, but they're molded in made out of bronze. We lost the Japanese American viewer.
Me of something that went around Twitter a few months ago. It was goddess statues 5,000 years ago versus a goddess statue today, and it's some figurine of an anime character. And it just goes to show the concept of a waifu is universal across all time periods. And I say that as a joke, but believe it or not, that was actually something that happened in one of the very, very early days of MOA. We had like a 3-hour conversation about the historical precedent of men idolizing fictional women.
It's like, I think everyone's always admired fictional versions of things because, they are ideal forms and we can project whatever we want into them. They're empty cups.
Right. But it got so ridiculous, but the arguments made were so good. Like, people were talking about, I was like, y'all complain about strange fan art. What do we call all the nose art for World War II playing? And it's like, you really don't have a good argument against it. You really don't.
Dante's Inferno is semi-erotic fanfiction about... Or no, Paradise Lost is semi-erotic fanfiction. But that's a classic.
Dante's Inferno is also shameless fanfiction.
Yeah, but it's not erotic. It's not weird like that. It doesn't have that game in it where it's like, okay, you can read Dante's Inferno and you can see like some of like... almost described like the eroticism as Italianness.
Or him putting specifically everyone he hates in hell just because he hates them.
He's having a little bit of a power trip writing that thing.
Like, Dante would 110% use Archive of Our Own if he was a century.
Oh, actually, on Archive of Our Own, I did find Jesus versus Goku fanfiction where Goku embraces the love of Christ, I'm pretty sure.
What?
Vegeta doesn't.
What in the world?
Yeah, I went on AO3 and I wanted to see if there was like Bible fan fiction on there. Turns out there is. I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know if to call it blasphemy or heresy or.
But if that's like blasphemy, then Dante's Inferno is blasphemy. It's all blasphemy all the way down.
Imagine showing up on Judgment Day and Christ is looking down at you. You're surrounded by angels and demons and they're all looking at you. And our Lord and Savior just goes, so, let's talk about your biblical fan fiction.
Yeah.
POV, you are the founder of Mormonism. And I said the founder of Mormonism because I can't remember his name.
Joseph Smith.
Joseph Smith.
Thank you. I knew he had like this...
It's like an Indian Idol. Just you. Adolf Hitler. No, you. Joseph Smith.
I remember he had like this stupidly English name. Like, just couldn't remember it.
I opened AO3 again just to look at it again.
Dear God. Why would you torture yourself with that?
Because like this means that there's like wait, Mario and Luigi are in this fic? Robotnik's wife. What? Okay, I'm not looking away.
The more you look, the worse it gets.
Huh. Okay, I kind of have breaking news. Radical monarchism just had a counter coup.
Really?
Yeah, we all saw it.
Just now.
I saw it. Wait. What do you mean a counter coup?
Prussians back in charge.
Oh, interesting.
Wait. So
they've become France. 3,000 revolutions per minute.
They're on the Third Republic.
Oh,
God bless them.
Now we just need to wait for Comic to make his triumphant return. Melba.
If it just is a continuous back and forth over and over.
You know, some days I wonder about this organization that we have created, but at the same time, I'm proud to admit that we are, despite all of our shortcomings and how much growth we still need to do, we are still the most successful monarchist organization in America.
Yeah.
Not that that's a very high bar, unfortunately.
We avoid weekly infighting, I guess. Here's the thing:
I mean-
Radmon's infighting wasn't even that like it was just every once in a while.
Yeah.
It was just friction points that exploded, and I guess they're going back at it again. Like, did they demote everyone? Oh yeah, they did. Okay, huh?
Interesting.
I feel like I just experienced like the world's worst Hoi 4 event.
All right, let's check off the checklist.
Oh yeah, no. I already saw that. Yeah. That yeah, they ousted comic. Yeah, I already saw that.
So let's go through the checklist. Hoi 4 or a paradox game is used to reference actual politics. Check. References to obscure literature. In this case, fan fiction. Check.
References to actual well-known literature.
Check. References to insane ideologies. Check. And making fun of Mormons. Check. I think we've had a good episode so far.
I don't. That's besides.
So, has anything interesting gone on and you want to talk about, George?
Not I can think of. Like, I don't know. Like, the only thing that's been noteworthy that I've noticed is a lot more JD Pond Dawn memes from like far left people, and like that's not really even worth going into that much.
JD what?
The joint dictatorship of the proletariat of oppressed nations, and Donald Trump. It's like it's almost like a post-ironic MAGA communism that's going on, which is really interesting to see from all the Maoists online. I don't really know what the left is doing. I think like the first few days in the Trump being in office kind of broke them a little bit.
Well, we knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, but like,
wait, who did this break? I'm sorry, I've been sucked out.
Far left for the most part.
Oh yeah,
but like, I'm seeing a lot of praise from the far left of Donald Trump.
Really? For what?
Accelerationist reasons.
It all comes full circle.
Like, they internalized the Zizek advice, which is if you really want to see world communism, support Donald Trump, I guess. I guess.
And this is why accelerationism is stupid. Because if your ideology is predicated on causing your opponents to succeed because you believe it'll cause more harm and therefore make you look better, that's indirectly trying to profit off of the suffering of others. Or, secondly, it's also stupid because God forbid your opponent actually succeed and then end up, you just end up destroying yourself.
Well, like, the idea isn't to make yourself look better. It's just to make it so the current state of things is destroyed. Because, like, a lot of accelerationism can be from, like, okay, the Marxist perspective that history is progressing. Oh, well, even just the liberal perspective, which is history progresses. It doesn't get worse. It will eventually just get better. So you are trying to force the next big thing. It's why with the JD Pond Dawn types, it's like, oh, Trump's going to cause a crisis with the transatlantic alliance and with the Western, like, basically capitalist economy. They kind of attributed like the DeepSeek Nvidia crash to Trump for some reason. I don't know why, and they were like, and also like when he was cutting funding for a lot of things, when he cut, like, it seemed like he possibly was going to cut farm subsidies.
Oh, that would be honestly, I support cutting farm subsidies, and this is someone who comes from a rural environment, and I have an incredible reason why. if you would allow me to share it.
Oh yeah, no, I was waiting.
So, I think the idea of America literally paying farmers to sell out their fields in order to artificially inflate the price of crops is stupid. Because it disincentivizes further innovation in agriculture. And above all, it helps artificially inflate food prices. If we want to decrease food prices, which is something Trump promised, then yeah, we need to get rid of the following subsidies and just let the price of food free fall a little bit.
Yeah, no, like I agree that farm subsidies are bad, but or like they're praising it because they, yeah.
However, one nuance. We should have these new laws and cuts lettered and worded in such a way that it hurts corporate farms and industrial farms before it hurts family-owned farms.
Yeah, like don't some farms just exist to benefit from like the subsidies, like that are set up as like an LLC or something like that?
I don't know.
It's kind of like the nonprofit grift.
I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but
I just remember reading about that. There's all like it's very similar to how people set up certain nonprofits just to get the funds. They have most of those funds eaten up, and like during grants or through grants, eaten up by administrative costs, which just goes in their pocket, and then they donate the rest to another charity just so they don't actually have to do any real work. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I think like a lot of the like accelerations that are like against farm subsidies, they just want more urbanized proletariat. They're trying to de-agrarianize the U.S. I don't know. I don't really know what their end game is anymore. I think they're just tired of the state of things, so they just want something different. And I think Trump is a chance to usher that in because they're falling into great man history, essentially. Trump is the something happens to their nothing ever happens.
Far left is falling into great man history. What has the world become? Honestly, that was one of my favorite things in the early days on MOA Twitter, arguing with anarcho-communists about great man history. Like, I'm not entirely sold on the idea that history only happens because some hero of a man did all the work. But I have to admit, there is this concept, this idea about how influential some leaders are that gives credence to the idea of great man leadership.
I feel as if the people that we tend to think of as great men in history are more products of their environment where someone would have risen up in similar positions, but they probably wouldn't have acted exactly the same. Like, I feel as if there was always going to be a Napoleon in response to the Jacobin excesses.
I don't know. Part of me says yes, part of me says no. Because even if there was a quote-unquote Napoleon that wasn't Napoleon, that person wouldn't be Napoleon. There was no guarantee that person would be as successful as Napoleon. Like, yeah, we might see a dictatorship in post-revolutionary France, but that doesn't mean that dictator is going to then try and conquer all of Europe.
Well, I think, like, it was already kind of set up around the time where Napoleon, like, the French Republic was already at war with most of Europe. That, like, anyone who took over after the fact was still going to be at war with a good chunk of Europe, or at least trying to maintain control over the sister republics.
Right, but it may have been defensive rather than
as offensive. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just saying, the thing about why you make a valid point, I'm just saying that there's no guarantee that person would ever do, what the historical figure that did do those things did.
Yeah,
a Roman senator may have risen and conquered Gaul eventually, but there's no chance he was going to be Julius Caesar.
Yeah, a lot of it is like they would just act differently. Like, again, maybe if instead of Caesar and then Augustus, it was someone else, it could have just been a continuation of what Sulla did, or even like, I forget, was Marius a dictator for a bit? I'm pretty sure he was, right?
I don't remember.
Okay, but like it could have just been a continuation of the Roman Republican dictatorships compared to becoming the Principate and what Rome later became.
Right. I know
But-
one of the biggest cases in support of great man history, it single-handedly is Genghis Khan. Just because quite literally, as soon as Genghis Khan died, the Mongols just went back to doing what they were doing before Genghis Khan.
Honestly, hot take, I don't think Genghis Khan proves it, because we had like precedents before that with Attila, where there are just like nomad leaders that are ideated to go conquer everything or try to take as much as they can. And it made sense for the Turks to expand out in all directions.
Well, I would say Attila. I don't know about Attila because Attila's father had already begun the march west, and his father before him. So, is Attila really exceptional, or is he just a successor to a continuous migration?
Well, like, could it be argued that like the Mongols are kind of a succession to the Turkish migrations that happened like around the same time and a little bit after, where they went into like Iran and like I'm trying to remember the exact date of the Turkish migration.
Well, if that's the case, then we can go all the way back to the Indo-European and the Indo-Aryans, and basically ancestors of all modern Europeans who just poured out of Central Asia and the Caucasus and took over most of the world. And we could then just make a whole historical precedent about occasionally someone from Central Asia goes batshit and tries to take over the world. It just happens.
I think it's
Oh,
not
no.
even specific to Central Asia. I think every once in a while, like migration. No, it's always been Central Asia. Yeah, no, you're right. Because
It's
I'm thinking about the.
always been Central. It's the same spot in Central Asia too. That little spot nestled between the Caspian, the Aryan, and the Aral Sea. It's
Yeah.
always that specific part of Central Asia too.
Yeah, like. Well, except the sea people, but the sea people, I think, were. I don't know. What's your take on the sea people?
Well, we don't know where the sea people came from. For all we know, the sea people could have been part of those migratory patterns.
Yeah,
But-
like. Oh, continue.
But I also follow this interesting theory that the Philistines from the Bible, the sea people, and the Mycenaeans all share a common history or ancestor. And there is this theory about how Goliath is described in the Bible that I heard, and how Philistine graves were described, that seems to suggest that some people suggest that Philistines were a lost Bronze Age Greek colony, or a proto-Greek colony from the former Mycenaean era. And so there is this interesting idea that some people think that the sea people may have been some proto-Hellenic naval power, or one of the from the groups of people that inhabited the Aegean islands that would have gone through piracy.
Okay.
So they were either could have just been on the move, been pushed out by the Hellenic tribes, and Hellenic tribes started migrating into Greece, or any number of things.
You should send me some of the stuff that you found on that. It sounds really interesting. I do think we're out of time, though.
Yeah, I think we are out of time, but it's been so long I wouldn't even remember where I found the material.
Okay.
If I could try and find it for you, bud. Anywho, let us wrap up in prayer. Please bow your heads in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Thank you for joining us on Monarchist Minute. We hope to see you next time, same place. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're listening to this on Spotify or another streaming service, hit subscribe. Follow us on social media, get a hold of us via email or direct message, or join us on Discord if you want to help out the cause. Until next time, may God bless you and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you and good night.